Welcome back to the Invincible Innovation Live Show. I'm your host, Adima Zolcario, product design and AI expert. And in this episode, we discuss the mysteries of AI and its intersection with the world of coding. Today, we have a privilege of speaking with a wonderful AI and ML expert to explore what coders need to know about AI. Join us as we delve into the heart of AI education and its implications for the future of coding. Hey, and my very special guest is Valeria. Hi, Valeria.
Hi, Dee. So thank
I,
you very much for having me. I'm so happy to
I'm
be
so
here.
happy that you're here. We were meant to talk about like I know like half a year more or less, and then it like going back and forth. So thank you for being here, Valeria Aynbinder. Aynbinder, it's okay.
Aynbinder, that's
Ah,
great.
it's okay.
You said it
AI and
correctly.
ML expert, CEO at EduLab. So I'm so happy that you're here. We're live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, and you're so invited to join the discussion and ask questions. And now we can start. What are
Great.
the most common misconceptions that coders have about transitioning into the field of AI and machine learning?
Okay, so it's a great question. And actually, I thought about it. I didn't have to think about it a lot because actually one of things that I do in my current career path, I teach courses in AI and in coding. And just a couple of words before I actually answer your question. So I am actually a coder. I have an experience of like 15 or more years in the industry, both as a coder and as a AI expert. And I'm still heads-on, so I still code a lot, even though I also have to manage a lot of projects and a lot of people. But I still like coding, and that's why I think that I can provide a lot of insights that are really relevant for coders.
Yeah,
And especially, I can also provide a lot of insights for junior coders as well, because I also teach courses for juniors. And I think that your question about the misconceptions among coders about AI, it's really relevant, and I would like actually to split this question into parts.
sure.
So the first part is when we speak about experienced coders, right? Those who are already in industry, and let's say they never used AI, they are not machine learning experts or something. They are great coders, developers, etc. And so now I don't know whether this is like a common misconception, but I will talk about a couple of concepts that I personally do not agree with them. So I don't know like whether these are wrong concepts, but like for me they are wrong, at
Yeah,
my opinion. So first of all, I see a lot of people who actually also reach out to me, and they say like, okay, I understand that AI is like going to, you know, like to take control over the world, and
yeah,
like we will not have any job anymore. Like AI
yeah,
will replace coders.
yeah,
So I think this is like a big misconception, and I'll tell you why. Because I think that AI is something. So first of all, this is not something new, right? We just hear a lot of hype of AI because of ChatGPT and DALI
yeah.
and all
Generative
the
AI. Right,
generative AI, LLMs, all this stuff. And
right.
because this stuff is so great, yeah, this is a great jump. Yeah, this is a great leap. Of course, it happened in
Yeah,
the past few years. But AI is not something new, and actually it exists. It exists a lot of time. And I think that the fact that AI is kind of became a huge part of our lives, both in our careers and our personal lives, it's just something that helps us. It's something that provides us superpowers, but it's not something that replaces us. I like to think about
mhm,
it like the Iron Man movie with
yeah,
Robert Downey Jr.
yeah,
So it's like he was like he had a lot of like super smart gadgets that provided him this superpower, but the one who really did the whole hard job and had to take all the hard decisions was the human, right? The
yeah.
the the
Right,
man himself. So
right.
so I think that it's really important not to think that like, okay, AI will take my job in terms of coding, because like, okay, I can go to ChatGPT and I can ask him, like write me an application that solves that writes a tic-tac-toe game, and yes, it will write it. It will write it perfectly, better than me probably, right, in a shorter time. But one of the things that, in my opinion, and from my experience, AI still cannot do, and it's still like I'm not sure whether it will ever be able to do this, is like to think in a more abstract way. I mean, it's really if we talk about coding, you have different kinds of tasks. And so like the simplest task is something that we learn and when we like become junior coders, right? So you get a small task, write a function, write like a small amount of code that does something very specific. Okay, like
Right.
get the month name and give me the I don't know the number of this month in the year. And this is something that ChatGPT can do really. And when I say ChatGPT, of course I mean all the generative models, right?
Yeah, of course.
It doesn't matter, BERT or whatever.
Yeah.
So it can do it pretty well, and probably even better than most experienced coders, really, because it will just write it perfectly. But the most complex thing and the thing that is most valuable in developers, yeah, something that differs between junior and like senior developers, is the ability of abstract thinking. Okay, it's actually this, like we call ourselves software engineers. So what does it mean to be engineer? It's like to be able to take very abstract tasks, like, okay, create me a Facebook. I want a social network where everyone can talk with everyone else. And now try to figure out how you split this huge task into smaller tasks, and each smaller task into smaller, and how you solve all these abstract problems of millions of users, that connect simultaneously, etc., etc., etc. So I think about it like ChatGPT or other, generative AI. If we speak in terms of coding, it's great tool that can help us, and we must use. Okay, we not should, we must use it, because it gives us these extra powers. Because if you have the ability to have these superpowers for free, by the way, yeah, right, I mean, you can use it for free, and
Yeah.
even if later it will cost like $10 a month, it's like it's almost free. So if you have the ability to use these superpowers and you don't use them, then there will be someone else who will. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you must use it. And the first misconception is you should not see AI as your enemy, as a coder. You should see it as your friend.
Yeah, I have
Okay,
a
so like,
question about it, but you
mhm.
mentioned that all the tasks for a junior coder could be done kind of easily with let's say ChatGPT. So let's say I'm a company and I have, I don't know, 100 very experienced coders, and I want to elaborate my capabilities and to create a new product, whatever. I need to hire new ones, right? So I could either say, okay, all of my coders who are experienced could do much more work with ChatGPT instead of bringing like junior ones. And then the junior ones would not be able to elaborate their skills and to learn and become an experienced coder like in 5 years, 10 years, whatever, right?
Mhm.
So what would happen with these companies that could do, let's say, X till now, and then now they can do, I know, 30% more. So they need less people.
So I'll tell you something. If I understand you correctly, you're probably like trying to understand that maybe AI will kind of cut jobs. It will not like eliminate some
Yeah,
jobs, but
especially the junior ones, especially the new ones who are not really familiar with the domain, who are not really, they don't have these skills that you mentioned.
mhm.
So they could be replaced. And then
so
in the
I'll
future, they would not have any additional skills, right?
So I'll tell you what I think. Actually, the problem you're talking about, it's an acoustic problem. It exists, and it exists already a lot of years, even before the evolution of all the generative models. Okay, and again, I really know this. I really recognize this problem with, let's say, my or other students that I teach, because yeah, most companies in Israel, at least, yeah, what I can say, they actually prefer even to pay like higher salaries, much higher salaries, and to hire like senior, because frankly, if you take like a very good senior developer, he can do job of 5 junior developers, okay, for the same salary. So
Right.
money wise, yeah, it's like you prefer to take like a senior, but there is a huge but in this. Um, there is one very important thing that you do find in juniors, and is actually two things. First of all, if we talk about junior developer, he or she, they really have to be very excited about what they're doing. Okay, they should come like to this job, with fire in their eyes. They like, and this is the kind of juniors that really find their jobs and they work really well, and companies, they see they see, all their effort, and they actually provide them a lot of value from day one. Okay, because yes, that's right, as an experienced developer, you can do something in 1 hour, and let's say junior, it will take him like 4 hours to do the same job. But it just means the junior, it really will have to work more hours. Yes, I mean, this is the trade-off. But on the other side, it's okay. Like, look at, it's not in the field of coding. Yeah, look at the Medicare. Yeah, look at doctors. They also, like the junior, like practitioners, they also have to work a lot in order to gain their experience. And so I think that actually, by the way, I think that it relates also to senior developers and coders as well. I mean, you really have to be excited about what you're doing. You In our world, maybe once it was correct, but now it is not. In our world, you cannot just come, to these jobs like to sit in the office from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and to hope for the best. I mean, you still will find this kind of jobs, but mostly, and especially if you're just trying to enter this industry, you really will have to work harder, but it's worth it. Okay, I mean, it's really worth it. I think that, at least for me, I mean, I'm getting so excited about everything that's happening. Working in programming in software, it's you see a lot of new things every day. You learn something. You have to learn. Even if you, let's say,
Yeah,
don't want to, you have to learn
you
every
have to
day.
learn. Yeah, it's progressing so fast, and you have to be up to date. And you cannot say, okay, I know one language for the next 20 years. I'm going to work in this. Like, no, it's not going to work this way. I think that each like half a year or year, you need to learn something which is totally new for you.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, I look at myself, I really think, and I am very experienced in this field, but I mean, sometimes my students teach me new things because they found some job somewhere, and wow, this is a small startup that now works with some new technology that, just came out half a year ago, and they still didn't see it. So yes, that's the way it is. So I really
And do
think
you
that.
know, like coders say, okay, we know how to code, but we need to know how to do AI. So going from coding to really doing AI is a different profession actually. It's not only like different language or different something. So what would
That's
you
right.
say?
Actually, I would like to tell a couple of things about it, because when we talk about doing AI, I really think it's important to understand here two things. So first of all, first thing, um, you can be like an ML and AI expert, like data scientist or something like this, and you sometimes you need the ability to understand the mathematics behind the models and to train your own models. And yes, this is a huge chunk of knowledge that you have to earn somehow, and I will talk about it in a minute.
Yeah.
And this was the case, until actually the latest development of the generative models. So yes, until before like 2 years, in order to enter AI field, you really had to invest some time. Again, it's not like years, but you had to invest like a couple of months, maybe to take some course, maybe online YouTube, something, to learn a little bit about models, machine learning, AI algorithms behind, and stuff like that. Now, this field is still here, and I will say in a moment where it is used. But now, actually, this new field of generative models this is something that opens the opportunity for almost all the coders to implement their own AI solutions without actually understanding what lies behind, the algorithms themselves. Again, I do encourage everyone to learn and to understand because it provides you even more tools for doing even more interesting projects. But if you don't have a time or you want to start today, you don't want to start implementing something
Yeah.
interesting like in 3 weeks, you really can use these great tools. And I really like encourage everyone to do this, not only to use ChatGPT or BERT, to ask questions and work quicker, but also for coders actually to take this API and to implement it. And here, if it's okay, I really would like to give the coders like one tip. Um, if you still didn't do this, just go to the page of OpenAI or BART or one of these or all of these large language models. Look at the API that they provide. They usually provide it either for free or for like really small amount of money, and read their documentation just to see what you can do with it. Okay, because you will see as the coder, right, the coders will see that they really don't have to understand what lies, all the complex math and stuff like that that lies behind all this great algorithms, but you can use and you can perform something which we call fine tuning or transfer learning. You can not only take and using your code this let's say ChatGPT as a tool, but you can also like to kind of trade it for your personal purposes. And all you need to do to do this is just to read their documentation. Like really, it's like 3 pages,
Yeah.
and it's really clear. And every coder will be able to do great things. And it's important, to come to your company to either it's your own company or you work for other great company to come with your ideas, because I see a lot of managers even that come to me now and ask, okay, can you please provide us some lecture about AI for managers, because like we all hear AI, 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 but we don't know what it can do. It's just this evolving of ChatGPT and BART. It just created this huge hype. People understood that AI is here and it can be used, even though it's here like a lot of time. But now they all
Yeah.
understand that it should be used. And as
Yeah.
developers, we really have to to come with these ideas, because sometimes non-technological persons they are not aware of all the possibilities, and the implementation time is so short. I mean, you can really make great things in hours. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah. So what you said, like it's two things. First, I could learn how to be a data scientist or to do the data analytics, whatever, and to work as an AI expert if I'm a coder, or I could use a third party, let's say ChatGPT, in order to just connect my I don't know, my tasks into this engine that is a black box. I couldn't really know what's going on. But let's say I do want to go into this domain and say, okay, I've done coding. I think the future is in AI. Maybe, I don't know, maybe yes, maybe no. And I'm going to go to this direction. What do they need to know? Like statistics, data, what is missing for them?
So in general, um, first of all, it is important to understand why you are doing this. And I will give in a moment just a couple of tips, like from where to start. So first of all, it's very important to understand that you really have to learn like deeper all this data science stuff in order to be able to implement very specific modules. For example, just examples from like my last project. You want to implement an algorithm that can predict whether a baby, given some details, some medical details about the baby, newborn baby, whether this baby can be affected by food allergy. Okay, so this is something like very very special. This is not something that you can like ask ChatGPT. Okay,
Right.
or for example, one of really exciting fields now is all the field of aviation. So airlines, they have a lot of planes, aircraft. Now, maintaining these aircrafts is like a very expensive and very important operation. And for example, you have now a lot of solutions that install some sensors inside the aircraft. It samples the noises that the standard noises that come out of engine and other details, and then you can like train a model that based on these noises can predict when the maintenance should happen. Okay, like stuff like that. So there's and these are really specific things. You really cannot use some generic model for this.
Right.
So and most of the tasks, a lot of tasks, they are these ones. Okay, so you really will have to learn it
Yeah.
deeper. So what you really need to know. So first of all, prerequisites. You need a little bit of statistics, but really a little bit. You don't. I mean, I do have. I did like my learnings at the Technion, and yes, I did a lot of courses on math and statistics and computer science. But you don't really need all this to be a great expert in the field. You really don't. So you need only the basics of statistics and maybe some basics of um, linear algebra. Okay, now really basics. Even if you didn't learn it in university or something, you can find a lot of great online courses that really provide you this basic basis. Just to be able to start learning machine learning. Okay,
Yeah.
so I can recommend you. I mean, one of the gurus of in this field who
Mhm.
I personally love to see
It's
his
Andrew.
Andrew
Andrew Yang.
Ng, of course. Andrew Ng is like his I mean, I think he's not just he's a great professional in the field, but he also a great lecturer. He's a great teacher, and I mean, sometimes I just go back to hear his explanations just to learn from his ability to explain very
Yeah.
complex things in a very simple language. So
Yeah.
my recommendation really go to Andrew Ng. I can also recommend the looking for his Stanford course. It's like very famous course in ML, machine learning. You can find it on YouTube. It's for free. Like it's a huge playlist of all the
Yeah.
lectures.
I think that
It's
the website is deeplearning.ai that all his courses
Yeah,
are in, and he's like creating a course each hour, like all the
exactly.
time, a new course, new course. I don't know how fast he's doing that.
Exactly. So you have this deep learning AI where you will find, by the way, like more modern courses and a lot of courses about the generative AI models. But I think that there is one like really, really successful course, which is like you can call it like more old style, but I think it's very important like to look at it and to hear it. And it appears on YouTube. I'm sure just you can just go and look for NG, Stanford, machine
I
learning,
thought
something like
his
that. You
name
will
is
get.
Ang, but I don't
And
know.
it's
I
like
never talked to
N
N
G.
and G, but I think that I don't know. I never talked to him, so I'm not sure that that's his name.
Yeah. So start from this, and actually, I really think that just starting from this basis. So first of all, course on basic statistics plus algebra, to understand. Second, I would suggest doing this course on machine learning, and then you should first of all you really have to use as a coder Python because like this is the language for ML with all the libraries there. But if you have this, just from here, like pick again. I personally really like the process of Andrew Ng, but you can also pick anyone else. You will need to learn a library that's called either TensorFlow or PyTorch, one of them for deep learning. And then you have a lot of like open source, a lot of models like already pre-trained. You can use, you can create, you can do like whatever you want. And again, if you are already a coder, it will take maybe like a couple of months to get to train your own models. It's not that
Yeah.
that difficult.
So let's say I am a company who, like, I'm an innovation manager in a big company. Do you think that they need to take care of the coders and say, okay, now we're going to learn to bring someone to teach them, or we're going to learn this, or only when it's relevant, or when they have very specific project that need to consider just letting the coders know that this is important?
I think it's very relevant for. I think that every company, almost every company, AI is relevant for it yesterday. Okay, so they really should do things. Now, of course, it depends. If you are a software company, then of course, I think it is extremely important, like to either to send your employees to some course on AI, or somehow to encourage them to learn this. I know, like provide them free credits for online courses, or invite a lecturer or something. It's really important, because I mean it really can like speed up the development time incredibly. It can allow you as a company create great products, great features. um, let's say, for example, I see one of the companies I'm working with is Intel, okay, here in Kiryat Gat. And so, for example, what we are doing with them, I conduct their course on AI. But what they asked me to do, they actually sent me some data that they have. So the course we are doing is not just some abstract course on abstract data about, I don't know, apartments or something. It's actually a course, and we work on their own data. So, for example, this is the case I talked about, when like ChatGPT will not help you, because, for example, in their case, we are talking here about the manufacturing process, right? Intel here, they're creating all these
Yeah.
chips, and then you have there a lot of very very expensive machines that like take these plates and cut these chips from them. And then what you need to do, these machines, they also need maintenance. And so since they need maintenance, and they really have to work like 24/7, because like stopping a machine, it's like a huge thing. It's like millions of dollars per day. So so from one side, they don't want just, let's say, to stop these machines once per week for maintenance. But from the other side, if, for example, they do the maintenance later than it's supposed to be, then it can break, and then it's even more expensive. So, for example, one of the things that they really need to do is like to collect data from various sensors, in order to understand when to do this maintenance, when is the best time to stop the machine for, I don't know, like for an hour to do this maintenance. And I think that this is like an incredible approach, right? Because it's like you solve two problems at once. You both create like some value for your company, and you also teach your employees to continue doing wonderful things and
Yeah.
very important things.
Yeah. So you mentioned that some companies have their own data. It doesn't matter what is the data, but they collect data from their customers. In your you mentioned manufacturing, or from their CRM systems, or from any kind of like their own domain. And in that case, of course, ChatGPT would not know what they know about their customers. But in many cases, and correct me if I'm wrong, the data is not so easily digested. It's not like, okay, that's our data. Let's build something, and then ta-da, we have an answer. There's lots of work done in order to get these answers from the data to the model. The model maybe is even like 20% or so, but most of the work is with the data itself in order to get some kind of insights and understanding on these machines, for example.
That's right. That's right. So, so here, it depends. First of all, of course, if you don't, by the way, if you don't have data at all, then okay, you're doomed. Okay,
You're
it's
doomed.
really
You have nothing
it's
to
a
do in this
problem.
world. You don't have
But
data.
No, you know what? I don't agree with this. You still have something to do with that because you can like take interesting approaches to look for other data that might be similar to the one you don't have. So, for
Yeah.
example, maybe you can look for some data sources out there, something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a bit
Of
problematic.
course, if you're a startup, you don't have data. You need to start with something. So you need to
Exactly.
gather data from outside.
But but I have a solution. So if you're a startup and you have a little data, you have all these great models. Yeah, if we take about image processing or like text processing, all these generative models, you really can perform this process of fine tuning, like um, we call this also transfer learning, like to make the global model, the general model, like more suitable for your needs. And now the thing is that these huge models are trained in the way that it's like they let's talk about like image processing, for example. Okay, so these huge models, they know how to understand pictures, okay, in simple words. Think about it. It's like when you have a newborn child. At the beginning, he doesn't know when he sees like some creature. He doesn't know whether this is a cat or a dog or I don't know or a horse. But then when he like gets some experience from his life, he starts to understand. Okay, this is a cat, and maybe this is a black cat, and this is a white cat, and this is like a brown cat. But they all cats. They might seem different, but they're all cats. Now think about it, this child that now like has some understand he grows, so he has some understanding about the whole world, and now we can like totally identify various objects. Now let's think I can really take this grown-up person and, for example, teach him in the field of medicine. I can teach him to look um, um, at the photos, let's say, of various screenings or something like that, and to say, okay, this here we do see a problem, and here we don't see a problem.
Yeah.
So you can like learn this specific skill, but how do you learn it? Because you just know how to understand how to identify objects, right? And that's why
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
identify something specific. Now, why I'm talking about it? Because we already now have a lot of tools. Again, you even don't need to know how to code for them, but we have a lot of tools that, for example, provide you this kind of generic model for image processing, for example. And I really saw it by myself. I mean, I couldn't believe it if I wouldn't do it by myself. But I saw that you just can actually go into this tool. You can upload 10 pictures, okay,
10?
with 10. I
10.
really 10 pictures of various, let's say of two classifications. And you just upload 10 pictures, five of this kind, five of that kind, and then it just fine tuning is performed so well that you can just the 10 pictures are enough for training. Okay,
Enough? But 10 is
enough.
like nothing.
Exactly.
And
I will tell you if I will even tell you the exact example of what they did there. Uh, um, so actually, it was a tool that we tried to implement. Like you want to see when you talk with someone on Zoom, you want to see how many attention do you get from the person. And so there was a tool that like sampled your picture every second or so. And then we try to understand when the person looks straight into the camera or like on you, or whether I'm turning around and then, like my face is. So now we really saw this a solution of like we took 10 pictures, 5 pictures of person looking straight into the camera, 5 pictures of a person looking around, and the model was trained perfectly. I mean, we got like 98% accuracy.
wow.
So it's incredible. I mean, you just really need to know that these tools exist. Okay, and
Yeah.
it's totally UI user friendly. You just go to some web page, upload 10 photos, like click a couple of buttons. That's all. It's ready.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think it's a very specific use case. Let's say I would be, I know, an X-ray expert who's looking for a specific kind of a tumor. It's something that is very specific. because right now they need to understand what is my face and where do I look and where is my profile, and if it's like in front of me. This is something that more or less, in order to understand what's in front of them and to recognize that I'm still me when you're looking like this, it's something that they need to know if they have any kind of face recognition. But if it's something so specific as a kind of tumor within an X-ray, I don't think the 10 would be enough, right?
Yeah, you're right. But again, according to what I see, it looks like okay. So maybe you will have like 200 pictures, and it will be enough. I mean, you will not to have like millions of pictures or thousands, or even not thousands. I think now again, which brings me to another very important thought that I really wanted to tell here. You really have to move fast. Okay, so I mean, we are now have all the tools and all the options and all the possibilities to try, try and fail, try, and then eventually you will reach your great solution. Maybe you will not reach the solution, and it's also okay. Maybe your problem is not solvable currently. I don't know. It also can happen,
Yeah.
but mostly not.
Yeah.
So so really very important point. I mean, use all the tools that you have to start moving fast. You don't need to sit and to train a huge model before you even know whether your problem can be solved with some kind of model. So just
Yeah.
go and try different things, and then improve. Of course, you probably would like to train your own models either to reduce costs or to
Yes.
improve efficiency, of course, improve accuracy, of course. But
Right.
start from something like ready to use.
Yeah. So training is something that sounds really like easy. I just bring the files or the photos or whatever, and or the videos, and then the machine is like learning a new thing. But it's kind of expensive if you want to make it like again and again for a company, and they need to reconsider if they need to use something which is an API external tool like ChatGPT or Bard, or they want to use an open source model, or they want to start from scratch building whatever they want. But just to understand that, you need to try these tools and to understand what is the meaning. And I guess
Exactly.
that most coders are not used to these kinds of technologies, maybe some of them, but not most of them, right?
That's right. That's right. I must admit, even myself, when let's say when ChatGPT came out, in its first version, I mean, I was too skeptical. I mean, I tried it; it was nice, like okay, funny, that's all. But then at the specific stage, I really had like kind of to to force myself to use it. And then when now, how do I use it? I use it for various tasks. So if we talk about coding, sometimes you really need to write like this small function, this small and simple function, and I know how to write it, but it will take me like 10 minutes to write it, or I can ask ChatGPT and I will get it in 10 seconds. So it really speeds up the work, the process, it really, really speeds up. And for coders, I think like you really should work with ChatGPT or Bard opened, in some tab. And again, personally, I really had to force myself to do it because it wasn't naturally for me. Like as a coder, for me, naturally to go and write the code, not to ask
Yeah.
ChatGPT to write it for me.
Yeah.
But I think that it helps a lot. Really, it just speeds
Yeah.
up the work. It allows me it allows me like to focus on really difficult and interesting stuff rather than on some stuff that okay I wrote it like 10 times 100 times in my life and I need to write it again.
Yeah. So when you teach new coders, junior ones, do you teach them differently right now because they need to understand the infrastructure, the high level view, or they need to know these tools in order to do their job? Or it's they need to know the basics. It doesn't matter that they have these tools.
So actually, teaching, I must admit, I really love teaching. I'm good at it and I really love it. I mean,
Wow.
it's really great, but it's a nightmare because, you create, really, I mean it. Why do I say that it's a nightmare? Because you create some course, let's say, or some lecture, okay, or some like workshop in specific theme. And then, I mean, you conduct this workshop. And after 3 months, I mean, it can be like half of it might be not relevant anymore,
Right.
or it's
Right.
like you really have to. And it's not only AI thing; it also development of languages and libraries and etc. etc. So I mean, I find myself like taking the same workshop and re-preparing it again and again from scratch, even though it's like kind of the same topic. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's so dynamic. You really have to adjust. And yes, I'm really sure that all the fields of AI and let's say all the generative models, they really for me, I teach them in all the current courses, because I mean, again, it gives you superpower. If you don't use these superpowers, others will use, and you will not get the
Yeah.
job. So
You
that's
know
how it
what
works.
came to my mind when you said it's like you need to change all the time. You need to be up to date. You need to like most people. I know. I don't know if most, like many people in Israel in general, would go and learn in a university. They would go to get computer science education, get a degree, right? And I think, like, at least in the first 2 years, you're learning the basics of something which is involving math and not really coding, right? And then you have like maybe year or two afterwards that you're learning things, but I guess, and correct me if I'm wrong, that their teachers are not really up to date all the time. They give them like more or less the same things or the basics, which are not really relevant, or maybe some of them are not relevant. So, in that case, would you suggest someone that is thinking about starting their career to reevaluate the need for higher education and go and take some courses and just start do whatever you're doing in coding and learn from that, or not?
So I'll tell you, in general, if you look at this, the practical way, yes, you actually, I mean, it's hard for me to tell this. And I mean, it's like, it's a bit problematical maybe to say this, but yeah, in practical way, you do not really need to go for the higher education. Again, you really need to be like, this kind of a person that can, learn by himself. It's not
Yeah,
easy, but yes, you have all the data in courses on internet, or you can choose internet courses or like physical ones or whatever, frontal ones. That's fine. And if you kind of a person that is excited about this stuff and is curious about this stuff, I think that actually higher education will only slow you down. Okay, because you're right, they will teach you like, I think I did something like 7 or 8 courses in math. I don't use even one of it. I mean, I don't even remember it. Okay, so
yeah,
I mean, it's just waste of time. Let's face it. I knew from
right.
day one that I would not like to stay in academy. I like business. I like the free world. But
Yeah, yeah. To do things in the real world, to
do
act upon the
things.
real world, right?
Yes, and I really think that in this field, not only this, but in high tech industry, experience, it doesn't come from the academy. It comes from your job and from your willing to learn, to educate yourself, and
Yeah.
to be curious.
And
That's the
and do
most
you
important.
see that in people who are looking for juniors? Would they prefer to take someone who has higher education, 3 or 4 years of learning, or they just want to see what they could do?
The second option, they really want to see what you can do. This is the most important thing. I mean, you still have some companies with like preconditions to even like pass this first stage of like getting to the interview. So these are companies like, I don't know, Elbit, Intel,
Traditional,
like
yeah,
more traditional Microsoft and stuff like that. So for juniors, they will require some like education and field, of course, higher education. But even though, let's say, I'm sure that if you take even like Microsoft or companies like that, if you have someone like experienced and without higher education, they also like will check him out.
yeah.
So it's relevant only for your first job, like as a junior. But again,
Wow.
it's not the most companies. Most companies, what they are interested in is like they want to see that you know to do stuff, okay, without like asking too many questions, without, just want
Yeah.
to see that you can do your job.
You know how to find the answers yourself. You know how to educate yourself and to learn new things yourself. You know, it's
Exactly.
really interesting when I think about it. We're thinking about AI and how it will change the workforce, and how would change education, and how would you change, like, what is something that you need to know for the future, for your kids, for your education. And right now I feel that it's so stiff that you need to know math, and you need to know to go to a higher education and a good institute, and to have the degree, and to have like good grades on the way, and whatever. And I feel that in so many ways it's not relevant anymore. That it's like, if you really love it and you're not going only for the payroll because you really love it and you're curious, that's like the basic thing you need to know. And more than that is like, it's extra. It's not the most important thing.
That's right. That's totally right. I really must say that I have, let's say, some of my students that I taught them came to my course with no prior knowledge in computer whatsoever. And they did this course, and you see that, like they come for the lesson at morning, and they come like with these red eyes because I sat near the computer the whole night, I couldn't stop. And
Yeah.
and these kind of students, they really get their job sometimes even before the course ends, because the employers, they also see the potential in them. And this is what what's important. And they really just think about it. It's crazy. You see like some young guy or girl who just finishes the army service, comes to comes to course, learns by himself, doesn't matter, like let's say 1 year. After 1 year, they get their like dream job in high tech, and after like half year, they'll already get like salaries of 20,000 plus, and they are like 21, 22 years old. But
Yeah.
it's not for everyone. You really have to be a hard worker. You really have to be. You should love this. You really should love this. You cannot do it without it.
Yeah. So let's go back to understanding what is, let's say I'm a junior. I understand that everything is going to that direction, having more and more AI, products powered by AI as a domain for itself. And I want to learn. Would you say that after I do these courses, do I need to start looking for a job? Do I go and do some volunteering and coding? So what do I need to do in order to go into this domain and to really start my career in the best way?
I think that the best way to start a career, so first of all, to start it during your studies. And I think that the best way is like to give back to the community, which is in our language is the open source community. So just contribute to open source. I mean, you can find a lot of projects to contribute to. And I think this is like the best and the only possible way in current world actually to go into this to find your first job. Just because when you contribute to open source, first of all, you you get experience, of course.
Sure.
Second thing, you meet digitally, but you meet new interesting people in the field. The seniors, they can teach you. And third thing, you learn how to work in team because you work with team of programmers. And fourth things, because this is an open source, so your job, it's not like buried somewhere where no one sees it. It's on GitHub, so every company can see what you did, to which projects you contributed. Here is your code. Was it approved? Was not? And I think this is the
Yeah.
best way really to to show off.
Yeah. Yeah. As I see it, it's like in the past you needed a recording company, and now you have Spotify and YouTube. So in the past you needed someone to go and do your test. They had these like places that you could go and go through some kinds of like tests, to see where you are, and then they give you a grade in each of these skills and whatever. And instead of doing that, the YouTube for coders is the open source way.
Exactly. Now,
Yeah,
of course, you
just
can also like kind of volunteer for some startups. You always have a lot of startups who really like look for those persons who already, to come and to develop something exciting for free, and
Right.
maybe for potential of becoming the part of the company if it succeeds. But yes, but open
Yeah.
source, I think it's a great way to both to contribute and to learn, to gain
Wow.
experience.
So before I ask you the last question, because we're almost done, did we forget something when we're thinking about coders and what they need to know about the AI future?
Um, I think that we did not. I will check it out because I did write a
Sure.
couple of points, important points that I wanted
I truly
to.
appreciate the fact that you came like so methodologically.
So no, I think we talked about everything. Just to remind. So AI is your friend, not your enemy. Don't look at it as it's your enemy. You have to learn how to cooperate with this, not to deny it. Okay, it gives you superpowers for free. Use them. And when you do develop AI projects, so just remember that you want to start quickly, start from existing tools, see whether it can solve your problem, and then for efficiency improvement or cost reductions, of course, develop your own models and do fascinating stuff by yourself.
Wow.
So this is the.
Sounds really good. So I'll ask you the last question. What is your top tip for coders which to prepare for the future?
I think that the top tip is be curious. Be curious and be excited about the future. I think lately we have a lot of talks about like the future with AI, right? This is like a complicated, complex topic because some
Right.
people are very pessimistic about this and some are very optimistic. Like
Right.
lately, I heard an interview with Mo Jawat, I think. He was like an executive in Google X, and like he's kind of he wrote a book which is called Scary Smart. So I mean, he's an expert in AI, and in his last interview, or one of his last interviews, he even said that he's kind of worried about what this evolution of AI is going to bring, especially given the fact that it evolves really quickly and all the regulations and stuff like that is not coming along with it.
Right.
So there are some dangers. And he even said like one sentence that like really came to all the headers of the newspapers and stuff like that. He said that he thinks that if like you are a couple that plans on bringing children to the world, you should wait a little to see
Wait.
what. Yeah, in terms of
Okay.
like. So now I want to say that I mean I'm less personally, I'm less agree with this like pessimistic approach. Surely there are problems. I'm sure we will solve them. Okay. Of course, there are problems related to privacy and security and stuff like that. Of course, of course, of course. Currently, we are like in this like exponential growth of the powers of AI, and we don't know where will it bring us. But really last tip, I think be optimistic because I mean being pessimistic about AI, it will not bring you to any place because being pessimistic mean like okay, I will just sit here and I will not do anything because like everything like it will go down and that's all. I think we really have to be optimistic because when you are optimistic, you really think proactively what to do, practically, what can I do, how can I. So just that cooperate with it, learn yourself, be curious, be excited about this great stuff that comes and will come. And I really want to see what will happen, like in a year or two, because it's not like in terms of 10 years. I think that in 1 year we will be in a totally different place.
Yeah, just think like a year ago, I think that ChatGPT 3 was like a year ago or something, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken. Right?
yeah.
So it's like it's here and now we're in like 4 and 5 is like on the way. So yeah. So I want to say that I'm always very like excited to meet people who are so excited with what they do. Because when you see someone who's so full of happiness with and joy with what they do, they're surely good at it. Because only when you're so happy to do something in the morning and wake up and you're curious and it lights your eyes, you could really be good at what you're doing. And I really enjoyed the fact that you're so enthusiastic. about what you're doing. And I'm sure that you're a great teacher just because of that. So, where could people learn more about your work and contact you?
So you can find me now. Just Google for Valeria Aynbinder. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm Facebook. All the socials. LinkedIn is the best to contact me. If you want, I mean, I can also pass you. You have my email, so if like you get the requests for my
Sure,
email or phone, be free to
sure.
share. And also, of course, you can look for EduLabs. This is my company. We provide both. Consultancy, AI consultancy and development services, and courses as well, both for private persons and for companies. So just search in Google for EduLabs, like EDU Labs, and you will get.
Yeah, I have like a few people that I already know that I will send your details to, so I'm sure it's going to be interesting. So thank you, Valeria, for everything. It's been really interesting and flowing and fun talking to you. So thanks.
Thank you, Ivy. I hope we will talk soon again.
And me too. And to all of you change makers out there, thank you for joining us. And if you found this episode valuable and insightful, please share it. And I'll see you next week with another innovative, insightful talk. See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.